Good morning. So Jehovah's Witnesses claim to follow exactly first century Christians. So do they? Well, first of all, first century Christians did not have secret documents. They did not have a secret elders book. They didn't have a secret judicial system. In fact, they didn't have a formal judicial system at all. They had no secret records of wrongdoers, etc., etc. But we might look at one case in the first century, and this was the one where the Apostle Paul stepped in. And if the modern day circuit overseer is supposed to be following the example of the Apostle Paul, then he would be the one to be dealing with judicial matters. Whether he would be able to be unprejudiced, given that elders are his friends, I don't know. I don't think it would work. But anyway, let's look at what the Apostle Paul did. A certain man had married a wife of his father, and this was considered extremely immoral. So the man was put out of the congregation. But within 5 months, this man had put things right, and so the Apostle Paul says this, and it's in 2 Corinthians 2 and verse 6 and 7. The punishment already imposed by the majority on the man in question is enough. And the best thing now is to give him your forgiveness and encouragement, or he might break down from so much misery. So within 5 months, this man was brought back into the congregation. Paul said, I'm asking you to give some definite proof of your love for him. There were no sanctions. He wasn't told he couldn't answer at meetings. He wasn't told he couldn't go in the ministry. He wasn't put on probation. Why not? Because he had repented. The sin was covered by Jesus' sacrifice. It was over and done with, forgotten, forgiven. That was the end of the matter. Now, Watchtower goes against this and says, oh, you have to have a period of penance. You can't answer at meetings, you can't do this, that, and the other. They do not follow first century Christianity. So let's just have a quick look at what Jesus said in John chapter 14, and we'll start in verse 15, where he says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. And then verse 21, anyone who receives my commandments and keeps them will be one who loves me, and anyone who loves me will be loved by my Father. Now, isn't that a wonderful thought, that we can be loved by God with all the attendant help that comes through the Spirit? It's a wonderful thought. So what are Jesus' commandments that we need to keep? Well, in Matthew 5, in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus explained that we need to keep away from greed because it leads to stealing, hatred because it leads to murder. There's no place in a Christian's life for pornography or anything similar. We mustn't even think about immorality or adultery, because that will be the end result, which would be going against Jesus' commandments. But on the positive side, Jesus was more concerned with us showing faithfulness, mercy, love, and justice. As it says in Micah, we must love kindness. So why the apparent difference between Jesus' teachings and that of the Apostle Paul? Well, the difference was the audience. The Jews who were taught by Jesus already had the Mosaic law. They already knew that immorality was not for Jews. They knew that greed, hatred, murder, stealing was wrong. But the Gentiles didn't have the same code, so the Apostle Paul had to be specific in what was immoral. So he might seem to be harsher than Jesus, but in fact he wasn't. He talked constantly about the love that Jesus has and how we need to stay within that love. 1 Corinthians 13 is a long prose on the importance of love. Without it, we can't be Christians. So Jesus tried to get us to stand on our own feet and be Christians in our own right, in our own hearts. And that's the standard that we would like to follow. We don't need somebody giving us a rule for every aspect of our lives. We know the law. We have the love of God and the Spirit of God to help us. We will sin, we will. But we can rely on God to help us to overcome it and to stay faithful to our God and receive the love of God in return. But thank you for watching this morning.